it was like the female side of his personality.
That's what they're saying. They're saying that it's really Thor. That like Thor is a essence, and it imbued itself into this female character.
Okay, fine. Then okay, fine. If Thor is a hammer, basically, and anybody that picks up the hammer,
Thor's a hammer.
All right, that's fine. The problem that I
well, they have been hinting that Mjolnir has a mind of its own.
I figured they pretty much said that when whatever her name was, the wife of Odin, was like the hammer's like grown beyond your control. Yeah, Freya. It was like the hammer's beyond your control now, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. If the Marvel wants to turn the hammer into the One Ring, then that's okay. Then go ahead and do that. All right. But my issue is this. They really should have picked a better story to introduce the female version of Thor. Like, the main villain of issue number 1 were the Frost Giants. Busting out of the earth.
But that's a classic Thor villain. Everyone knows about the Frost Giants.
Everybody knows, but that's the problem.
No one knows anything else.
What's she gonna do? Fight Loki? Like, you can't do that.
I mean,
like,
a female Thor versus a female Loki. I'd be down with that.
They did
get there eventually, but you can't just start with that because then where do you go? Where do you go from there? Like, no, they got to build to that.
No, that's the problem with the Man of Steel movie. They started with the Big Bang. Now what do they do? Now we have to have Batman and Superman fight because we can't do anything else. We already blew up Metropolis.
I mean, I'm not worried about the future of the female version of Thor or I guess for Thor, because I mean, she's going to be able to fight alongside the Avengers and so on and so forth, and she's going to be able to play the same role that Thor always played. You know, I mean, I don't see that being a problem. And what Marvel might do is with their summer event, they might just go back and just say, okay, fine, Thor Odin's son is just going to be that way forever, and like this is the new Thor for forevermore.
No,
I don't know.
No.
They're not going to do that.
Well,
it's going to be reset by Thor 3.
Avengers 2 of Thor 3.
She'll be back.
Well, they've implied this is going to go on for a while because we've seen a few clips into the future, and he's still got the axe, and he's not Thor.
Yeah, but she's not either. Like, we don't see her very often. And like,
they say that they're not going to reveal who she is until she's done, which means that she's eventually going to stop being Thor and get it back. It's going to revert back to the status quo whenever the movie comes around. That way, people aren't confused as to why there's a Lady Thor. Now, what might happen is that she might get her own hammer, a la Beta Ray Bill, and then just be another awesome character. But Thor is obviously going to come back. He's going to be like Piccolo, grow an arm again.
Oh my God!
Breaking out the sea.
But ordinarily, I don't like to judge a series by just one issue. I usually I don't even like to judge it by its first trade. I like to at least give it a little bit so it really gets its story going. My only exception to that was the newest incarnation of Batgirl, because I just did not like. I was really excited about her newest adaptation, but it just did not. When I read it, it kind of just felt like a bit of pandering. They just kind of they overdid the dating app and technology, and they really overdid her photographic memory, and I just didn't enjoy it.
The problem I have with the new Batgirl, just for a quick sidetrack, the new Batgirl is. Like, they wanted to take a prominent female character in the DC universe in Batgirl, but Batgirl's like 28 to 30. Like, she's older than the entire cast, and they've kept her that age, but they've just pretty much brought her appearance down to 16, put her in a top that will kind of hide any adult female assets, and now her priority is, like you said, apps and phones and her roommates, and like, she was going in a direction of being on her own, getting her own relationships, building up a soul, and now we've just reverted her. Like,
and that's what I don't like.
That's my issue with friggin' with the New 52 in general, was their like just refusal to, if you're gonna reboot everything and make Barbara Gordon like 17, but like don't make her 35 and depressingly sad. Like, because can you imagine like a 32-year-old like being like, hey, what up? Like, I'm whipping up apps and I'm moving in with like girls half my age, and like maybe I'll go back to college. Like, it's just like you're like, what the?
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine if you're in that group. Like, everyone around you's 30, and you're all like, yeah, well, this is a great idea.
Right.
But when you're hanging out with,
that's not what this is.
No, it's like she's 32 or so, hanging out with the 18-year-olds. Like, oh hey guys, what's going?
Yeah, they should.
But I wanted it to be good.
Yeah.
I was really excited about it because I love female protagonists, and I think that there definitely need to be more and more that are done properly, and I just think this was not done properly.
I do dig the art.
I think it was just pandering.
I love the art for that issue, though. Or for that.
It's really good looking. It was more indie, kind of like Scott Pilgrim.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I really like the art, and I gotta say, like, I hate to say it because, like, it felt like pandering. The redesign, it's growing on me. Like, I think it's actually kind of a cool redesign.
I like the costume and everything. I just don't like her character.
No, well,
everything about the aesthetics I love.
I'd be okay with.
I don't like.
I'd be okay with the character if she was de-aged. If they took away. The other thing was, wouldn't it be cool if they took away this is blasphemous, I'm sure, but like, wouldn't it be cool if they undid Killing Joke? Because number one, Killing Joke was supposed to be out of continuity anyway. Number two, it still exists, and you've undone everything else, so you might as well undo Killing Joke. And number three, it's not like you've erased it from the cultural consciousness, so like, the looming threat of the Killing Joke taking place again is always ever present in the series. So like you could always be worried that like, oh my god, like things are going so well for Barbara, the Joker could kick in the door any minute and paralyze her.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Because who could resist the urge? Nobody clearly could resist the urge to retell the Killing Joke. But for some reason they were like, no, let's keep that. But let's throw out year one. But let's keep the Killing Joke. It's really weird.
You know what? Honestly, though, the easiest thing they could have done is she got hit with a de-aging ray. It's a comic book. She could have got hit with a de-aging ray. Problem solved. Now she's young again.
Well, they did that with not like a de-aging ray, but like you could always just say like, well, the Earths got merged and she merged with a younger version of herself, and blah, like.
Oh, multiversity's happening. But anyway, okay. Yeah. So I think we've gone on enough on Batgirl.
DC. Okay.
Wait, this was Lady Thor.
Like, here's
I like DC more than Marvel. Sue me.
Here's the thing that you have. Like when you're introducing a new character in a Marvel Comics, when you're introducing a new story, the first story has to snatch people up and drag them in. Yep. Like it has to get their attention right off the bat. Like that's why like Iron Man number 94 or X-Men number 94 was such a big deal, because you immediately went to the story with all these cool new X-Men, and it was awesome. But the issue here is that with Thor number 1, I was reading through it and it was like, all right, this is decent. And all I really cared about is like, what's the deal? Like, one, are we going to find out what Nick Fury said to Thor? And two, who's going to pick up Thor's hammer? That was my only real interest. And so I more or less just skipped to the end of the comic, and then like supposedly like a female, some woman picks up the hammer of Thor and wields it. And I was like, okay, well that sucks. Like, no resolutions in this issue. So.
No, I mean I agree with you that number ones need to be the catchy, they snap, they got to pull you into the comics, but. Just like everything else, we're kind of going away from that in comic books, movies. I mean, it used to be back in the day, if a movie had to catch you in the first 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Now we have movies where the entire 3-hour movie is setting up the second movie.
That sucks.
I mean,
hey, Spider-Man 2.
Exactly.
Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Avengers 2, no.
Yeah,
that's gonna be, and that's the day and age we're dealing with. And I have a feeling comic books are going in that same transition. Like female Thor, a great first issue should have. I mean, as a
it should have been second issue would have been a good first issue.
Yes,
exactly. Second issue would have been a great first issue, or even first issue resolve all your loose plot threads and give her a legitimate start.
Yes,
be like, here she is. Here's what Nick Fury said to Thor. Forget about that. It's over. Let's go forward.
yeah. All that should have been done in the first issue, and then from there you focus on the female. Like you focus on Thor. That would have been. I would have read. I would have been like, this is an awesome comic.
Exactly.
I think I understand your problem, Rob. Because like the usual thing that I hear like writers talk about is that whenever you're writing a book, it's that. Is the story you're telling the most interesting part of your character's life? No. Why the hell are you writing about it? Get to the interesting part.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would have been great because the second issue was the interesting part. Like a lot of the first issue was just filler. That could have all been resolved in the final issue of the Thor God of Thunder book, the one before it. They could have just done all that as the last issue, have a cliffhanger, and go, oh, by the way, here's this awesome first issue. That they could have just literally just moved the numbers down by one, and it would have been perfect.
Not even that. The last issue of Thor was garbage. It was all looking into the future, showing that, Thor's going to keep the axe for a while. Here's Thor's daughters, and he's the Odin son, and he's now the Odin, and he still has the axe. That means it's going to last for a while.
Yeah.
That's all the last issue of Thor was. That's all that was.
Yeah.
Or at least until May, when they change everything.
Well, it's
I don't think they're going to revert it in May. I think that's too soon. I can see Thor 3.
The worlds are colliding. Everything's going to change.
Oh, Secret Wars May. Okay.
Everything is changing.
It's not going to be immediate. I don't think it's going to suddenly be like, bam. I mean, this.
No, it better be, because you can't drag this crap out.
You
can't have Secret Wars and incursions.
Are you serious? Like when they started Axis, if you hadn't read like the Magneto tie-ins, you just pick up in the middle of Axis and you have no idea how you got
that's
there.
Stupid.
So they Marvel does that.
I know they do. That's stupid. I will say that's bad.
Sal, I'm gonna burst your bubble here. Because I just did like 3 days of research about the incursions to figure out the best way to tell that story.
Oh yeah,
and that story went literally. It's 2 freaking years to get to the goddamn point because they were a monthly book. It took it took pauses for Infinity and Original Sin.
I know.
It was like we're gonna blow up worlds, but hold on, Thanos is here. Let's go do that. Let's go take care of Thanos.
Oh no, Thanos is here. He doesn't do anything.
You guys all stopped.
That's you, man.
Yeah, you're the one not moving. You have a very funny face.
Sorry. Sorry, that was all. You guys were all just like, Did I break the stream?
But here's the problem with it. The way it ends, it literally ends going into the. It was 8 months till it die, right? Because the way the incursions end, spoilers: the new Avengers are dicks. So
yeah, they're monsters, murder people.
That's the way it ends, and it goes into the next event. And if you look at the timeline, that timeline is gonna end right at the Secret Wars. Guess what, Sal? It's gonna stretch that one out for another 6 freaking months.
Oh, dude,
I quit New Avengers because clearly nothing. Like New Avengers was really really awesome, especially with the original artist who I can't remember. I was really enjoying it. He draws Velvet. Anyway, but in any case, I was reading New Avengers. I'm like, this is really cool. And then they were like, and we don't know when it's going to end. And I'm like, and they had like all these moral conundrums. They kept like destroying Earths. And I'm like, and then Doctor Strange is like, I'm going to sell all my soul. He does this thing. And then we don't see that happen for another 2 issues. And I'm like, we're going to drag this out as long as we possibly can, can't we?
Well, that's what's going to happen. By the time we get to the end of the Secret Wars, which is probably finally going to be the conclusion to this incursions crap,
yeah,
it's literally going to be a 3 to 4 year storyline.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
No, not for me. Like, it'll be a trade paperback I review on back issues.
It's going to be a 3-year story arc. That other story arcs took place during. And you're right. They definitely were taking some filler issues to stretch long enough.
Yeah.
Because there's about 4 issues where it's not even about the new Avengers. They're watching through a viewfinder other planets die.
That is when when the book opened with like alternate versions of them and you thought it was them and then you found out it was, and I'm like, oh no, we're not doing this. I'm not coming along for this ride. That said, yeah, the Infinity tie-ins were crap. I really loved the Infinity Core, like that core story, except for the last like issue. But
Well, all right. Steve Epting is the guy that you're thinking of, Sal. But
yeah, it's Steve Epting. He's so good.
He really is. Like his Velvet art is pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
and he also did Captain America with Brubaker, and it was so good looking.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why Brubaker was like I'm gonna do Velvet. Like please,
please, Steve, stay with me.
Like please don't leave.
Yeah.
No, here's all right. Here's what I think. All right, this whole 2015 summer event. There's no way Marvel's gonna go through all this advertisement and then just be like, Secret Wars. Did we just lose Drake?
We did. I'm going to add him back. I'm going to see what happens.
Did we scare him? He's like, oh my god, 3-year story arc, I'm done.
Oh,
Well, I guess Drake just bailed out.
No. It was having an issue, so I booted him.
Oh,
I booted him.
You kicked Drake out?
Well, it was being look. He went away.
Bye, new guy.
Trying to add him back.
Yeah, find a new.
Sorry,
guy.
everybody.
But no. Here's
go.
what I think Marvel's gonna do. There's no way that Marvel's going to go through all this advertisement for this 2015 summer event and then turn around and just be like, Secret Wars issue number 1, bam, done and done, tie-ins.
Oh, no. I mean, like...
It's going to be this big, drawn-out...
Well, yeah, it's good, and it's going to be... They're going to constantly reflect and look back to the incursions and Infinity and Original Sin and all this crap that happened before it. They're going to constantly tie into that, but at the same time, they're going to try to make it a good jumping-off point. Yeah. They're going to try all that crap.
Yeah.
Now here's my question for you. Infinity tied in with the new Avengers and the Incursions and what's probably going to be Secret Wars.
Yep.
The Original Sin tied into it. Axis seems to be gone solo. Like, is that... It doesn't seem to tie in anything.
There are some tie-ins with Axis, but like...
But which, for the record, real quick, I am interrupting you, leads us to our second topic, the current discussion about Axis. Right. Segue for the win.
That was an excellent segue. Good sir.
Yeah, well done. It's a textbook.
Here's the thing about Axis. Axis to me started off awesome. Like Magneto's like, we're gonna go see what the Red Skull's doing because supposedly he has camps, and he shows up there. And he's like, oh my god, he's holding mutants, and everybody's like, no, Magneto, don't kill him. And he's like, you know what? Done.
Fuck him.
Bam, and he kills him. And so that's it. And then
which is so Magneto. I love it.
It's that's perfect Magneto. I'm not gonna listen to anybody. I'm just gonna go ahead and do what I want to do, even if it means that like really bad stuff happens in the process.
Yeah.
But from there we pick up with Red Skull and like Red Onslaught, and that was really really cool. But here's a problem that I think Marvel was having. Marvel was looking for a way to take all these characters and tie them into the 2015 summer event. What in the world is Drake doing, man?
Well, no, Sal's keep trying to re-add him. That's what's going on.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to get it back on.
But anyway, Marvel is okay. So one of the guys asked, "What exactly is Axis?" Okay, so Marvel is looking for a way to.
Why don't you explain that, Marvel? Explain.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
It's not over. We don't know.
At this moment right now, the way Axis is played out, there's basically like Magneto went to Red Skull's camp where he was like holding mutants. Like he killed Red Skull because of it. Red Skull remanifested as Red Onslaught. I think after taking over the essence, or I guess incorporating the essence of Charles Xavier.
Oh, he took his brain and he put it into his head.
Yeah, and then then you
How
have like
his brain into his head.
That's when I picked Uncanny Avengers. I believe that was issue 1. I picked up Uncanny Avengers, and Red Skull's like, "No, I have the brain of Charles Xavier." I'm like, "He's dead." That no, you can't do that. Like that's not anything.
That's not how the
function
anatomy
anymore.
works.
The brain is dead. Like that's how you determine death. That no, you can't just take a brain and sever it from the no. That does not.
That
I don't
doesn't
know.
work. But anyway, so as a result of that, you have Magneto who
I'm
killed,
back.
Who,
Yay,
hey,
welcome
what's up,
back.
man?
Sorry,
You're
I
back.
I died.
I'm doing a brief rundown on Axis.
She's
So
explaining
anyway,
what Axis is. Why don't you start from the beginning?
Okay, cool. Nothing I can actually contribute to.
okay. So anyway, so at this point we have Magneto who's at Red Skull's camp. Red Skull, he kills Red Skull. Red Skull remanifests as Red Onslaught. All right, that's where Axis number 1 picks up, and my phone is buzzing. That's where Axis number 1 picks up from. All right, so you basically have like all these superheroes fighting Red Skull. All right, Red
Is that a
Onslaught.
thing?
Yeah. Red Onslaught basically like, and we'll get to that here in a second. Red Onslaught basically like lays waste to all the superheroes, like all the ones that are there. Like it's just no contest. Right. And Quentin Quire is doing his best, which I don't know. Quentin Quire is doing his best to like hold off Onslaught, really like unleashing all of his psychic energy, which eventually that fails. And then like the adamantium sentinels that apparently Tony Stark made for Red Skull or made for somebody at some point in time show up, and so you have like basically everybody getting attacked from all fronts. Eventually Red Onslaught is destroyed, but the problem is that the unleashing of psychic energy combined with like Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange's actions have led to like the motivations of everybody in the Marvel community just like switching. So good guys are bad guys are good guys.
Yeah, it's forever evil. But
which is when I was like, this is the stupidest story I've ever read in my life.
So
like,
dumb.
it was
Actually, I'm starting to agree with you,
until that point.
No, I'm agreeing with you because it's they're promoting this as the big thing. It's crossing over multiple issues and stuff like that. Yeah. But it doesn't line up with everything that's been going on in the Marvel universe up till now. Like literally, Original Sin ended with we're going to hunt the Illuminati. Iron Man's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Captain America's and now we're like, oh, but no, before that, or we're just going to ignore that. Iron Man went to go
we
fight
lost
for
him
Venom.
again.
Yeah, and now you have Superior Iron Man, where Iron Man's back to like being a dick.
Now that book is cool, and yeah, he is a dick. He's like, and P.A. Stewart pointed it out to me earlier. Hey, he's back. P.A. Stewart pointed out to me that like it's kind of like a return to Tony Stark, like being a like weapons dealing drunken douchebag. Like it's more like classic Tony Stark, which I think is really cool.
Well, it is, but where does this time? Like, okay, it's almost like we were watching a TV show. We got to season 6 of this massive story arc where now everyone's against everyone, and they decided that you know what? It's almost like we watched 4 episodes of a TV show, and then you got to season 5, and the TV show decided to change everything around, and almost like Lost, where basically season 5 is garbage.
What are you doing? Say anything about Lost. Use a different analogy. I'm halfway through season 5. Don't say nothing.
Oh no! Okay, I'm going with the beginning of season 5, so you already know the flip where the whole thing just is like, wait, all my answers are not going to get answered. So we've literally gone like 3 years of comic storylines: Infinity, Original Sin, the Incursion's entire plot line, Captain America getting sent into the future and coming back. All of this crap happening, and then out of the blue, like, now we're going to do Axis. And it doesn't tie into any of that crap.
That's what's kind of... I mean, there's elements of Axis that I like. Like, I like Apocalypse's back. All right, I think it's kind of silly that he's allying himself with, like, the X-Men. Like,
it's just more X-Men being, like, isolationist douche nozzles who are like, well, no one will understand us.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like hipster or like...
FYI, X-Men, you're the ones who are saying that.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, Drake's back.
Drake,
Sorry,
Hey!
Skype
I'm
is just
sorry.
being a giant butt. I have no idea what's going on. I've never had this problem.
I don't.
well,
I don't
let us start the stopwatch again and count down. See how long.
exactly.
So what is it like? The how long has Drake not been disconnected? The new
Yeah,
how long has it been
just
since
places
DC has
the
ripped off
picture.
somebody's arm?
Yeah, the clock recount, like it restarts when.
All right.
when
Yeah.
you need to-
So
It's
okay,
my
Drake.
favorite game.
Let me ask you this, because you're the guy that you've been reading Access, right?
No.
All right, never mind.
All right, like
Well, that was gonna spin out. We could drop the Axis conversation, or we could wrap up the Axis conversation and segue into something that Drake has read, which is Superior Iron Man.
the big thing is that like I said, I am a DC Comics fanboy because it's mainly just because of how I like how DC handles their characters, whereas DC kind of views their characters as more pop culture icons, which is why Spider-Man kind of would fit better in DC, but that's a different story for a different time.
I don't know about that, man. Boo hiss. Get out of here with that, man.
That's a big allegation that'll get me killed. But I'm trying to get into Marvel more and more, which is why I'm watching more of Rob's videos. He gave me a big old list, and why all these new jumping on points are a huge thing for me. Which is why I'm so into Superior Iron Man, which is why I'm so into Lady Thor, because it actually helps newcomers read comics.
Yeah.
I want to give Marvel my money, but I don't know how.
Well, here's a problem that Marvel has now. Marvel used to be really, really, really good about that. Marvel used to be super good about saying, all right, here's like the event. Like, this is the one event that we're doing. Now, way back in like the 80s when Louise Simonson was like, let's do X title crossovers, and Claremont was like, that's stupid, and she's like, we're doing it, and Marvel says, we're doing it, and Claremont says, all right, fine, whatever. Like, even then it was organized. Like, it made sense.
Well, it's very
somewhere-
Marvel's
ingrained
just all
in
over the place
continuity.
now.
They were really like,
Yeah, somewhere along the line, Marvel said, well, you guys have the X-Men titles, and you guys have the Avengers titles, and you guys have the Illuminati titles, and you guys have Excalibur titles, whatever.
yeah. Well, the other
And
thing,
you guys,
yeah.
and they just said, like, do your own thing, and then somewhere along the line, we'll just cross them all over. And so now you have, like, all these interrelated titles, and you have no idea what's going on, and then there's some stuff happening here, and some stuff happening there, and then all of a sudden at the end, it's just like, crossover, and then it just maybe kind of makes sense.
Well, and the crossovers themselves weren't A, events, and B, like, necessary. Like, you didn't need to read it in order to know where Marvel was going to be this year.
Yeah.
And also, like, between, like, late 80s and, like, the 2000s, like, no one gave a shit about what the Avengers were doing.
Yeah.
Like, that's why Cersei and Thunderstrike and, like, Hawkeye were main Avengers, and like
Cersei.
yeah, like random people where you're like, who's that? Like, why is Firestar an Avenger? Like,
Well, that's the day and age when superhero teams in general, because even the Justice League was garbage.
oh,
at
the
that point.
Justice League.
I mean, that was like.
Wait,
Guy
you're not
Gardner,
talking about the
Green
Justice League
Lantern.
Classified days, because I liked those.
I'm talking about like Booster Gold and Fire and
I
Ice.
know you're saying that.
And while I know
just-
you like them, Drake, they probably shouldn't be
No,
A-lister
they're-
Justice League cast.
They're pretty like they have their place, and that like that era with crap. Who drew the team with like Guy Gardner and Fire and Ice, and Batman was kind of like their liaison.
I
Was
have
like,
no
Well,
idea.
the problem with
DC.
all the
lost him
teams back
again.
in that day and age was
We
the
lost-
teams were
we
used
lost
as an
Drake
excuse.
again.
Or he left. He was like, I was so
Oh
incensed.
my God,
Like,
Drake.
The teams at that day and age were all used as dumping grounds for heroes that wouldn't pan out or hold
yeah,
the rope.
no, they can't sell their own books. They would just put them on a team.
And a lot of times, like Marvel did stuff in a really cool way, like Gambit. Gambit's a really cool example. And guys in the chat, we'll get to this when we talk about Gambit later on. But what Marvel did with Gambit? Oh, what's going on? Welcome back.
Okay, I like how just hearing the end of that conversation, I pretty much just gathered how the entire conversation went. Like, all these characters are shitty and can't hold their own comics, so that's why they threw them on a team. So I didn't really miss anything.
No, it's
Basically, yeah, that's basically it.
No, Benny should just
I'd like
read
to
all
know-
of what I just sent him in the chat. It's like in on Benny's chat, I just said fuck every time that I'm dropping out. 'Cause and he's
not
right in the
even
middle of
getting
yelling at me
those.
too.
I'm not getting those. But Drake, I did want to let you know today we're doing a podcast. So
Yeah.
the more you stay connected, it actually would
Yeah,
behoove us
I know.
and allow us to do better. So
Well, Rob knows how bad.
Oh man, the struggle is real.
crap.
Oh God, man.
that was so perfectly
The Weekly
timed.
Pull, a pillar of professionalism and togetherness.
Yep. Like we know how to run a podcast, guys.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm now starting to see a like call quality red bars on my.
Yeah, that's because Drake probably has the lowest connection.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was me and I can't handle 4 people.
That just means that somebody has a
No,
really
we've done
crappy
this before.
connection.
Okay.
I'm
but
laughing
no,
at
like,
him.
what
I'm
Marvel
laughing at him
did?
in private chat, by the way.
Huh?
You have what? Now?
I'm laughing at him in another chat, like LOL.
Oh, okay. But what Marvel did with Gambit is you had like the Mutant Massacre event, and then Gambit came along. And so it was like, okay, you've got like Gambit and so on and so forth. And then everybody's like, Gambit, get out of here. And everybody's like, why are we kicking Gambit out? It's because he was leading the Mutant Morlock Massacre. And that was the big deal with him. So it was a great way for Marvel to introduce a new character and then to say like he's got a darker side by tying him into like a really bad event that happened in the history of the X crossover titles. That was something that Marvel was really, really good at.
Yeah.
Now they're not good at that.
Well, they're so concerned with like putting them in charge of like, I guess like maybe the problem is that they're just the universe is too cohesive. Like there's just too much crossover.
Yeah.
Like they're really afraid of just bridging them together, which is funny because people keep complaining that like the X-Men have always been kind of on the periphery. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like fucking like a House of M is the bridging of those universes. It's an Avengers event that destroyed the mutant population. I feel like that's a major crossover.
It is, but see, here's my issue when it comes to I like the X-Men kind of being out in left field and doing their own thing. I mean, in all honesty, I always felt like the X-Men deserved more attention than the Avengers did. In the 90s, they got it. In the 80s and 90s,
they sure
got
did.
more attention than the Avengers did. But then, like, the X titles started dropping off because Claremont left. So the point came when, like, all the focus started being on the Avengers. But the issue that I have here is I like the X-Men being out in left field and they're doing their own thing and they're dealing with, like, humanity. The problem that I think Marvel had is, like, with Civil War, for example. Like, the X-Men were just not part of Civil War. They were like, well, like, we're dealing with decimation. There's only like 200 of us, and we can't spare any lives. So you guys are on your own on that one.
Well,
that was a huge mistake by Marvel. But.
Well, the problem is with it is, I mean, this has gone back for a while. Is the X-Men floated pretty much all of Marvel throughout the 90s. Like that's all anyone cared about.
Yep.
And then Marvel was going bankrupt. They sold the rights to X-Men off, so they couldn't do much else with the X-Men.
Yeah.
At the same time, all the best writers and artists left the X-Men, leaving them in a bind. And so once they got the initial buyout or investor, I forget how they got out of the initial bankruptcy jam, they started building up the characters they did have rights to, which was the Avengers. And then all throughout the year, the 2000 and 2010 or whatever, we had to deal with the X-Men getting a bad rap because Fox kept putting out crappy movies. Or was it Sony? Whichever one had them. Fox.
Fox has the X-Men, yeah.
Putting out crappy movies that did nothing but crap on the name of the X-Men. And at the same time, Marvel was dealing with what do we do with them? Now, because of the 90s, we've got 10,000 mutants in the world.
Yep.
And we're trying to refocus our efforts here. So maybe we should make some new superheroes. So they do seem to be in a weird situation where every time a big event comes up, they're like, should we add them?
Right.
Should we not?
Yeah.
Like, what do we do with them? Because if you don't, and I think the problem is, honestly, this is my opinion, I don't think they want them in any of the events. But the problem is, if you remove them entirely from every event that happens, then you start running into the question of, well, where the fuck's the X-Men? You know?
What do the X-Men have to say about this?
Right.
Well, it's like I always say, you either read all of the Marvel Universe or X-Men. By the way, hi guys.
Hello.
Well, that's kind of the problem that I think that I don't know what Marvel's rationale was with the House of M. It would have made sense that I think Marvel would have said after Fox like got the rights to the X-Men and they were like, we just basically want to like pigeonhole the X-Men, that they would say House of M, like pretty much all the X-Men are gone. There's really no mutants left, and so I think their intention may have been to just kind of shuffle them to the back. But I think there was a big fan outlash. Like people were like, no, we really want to see the X-Men, and so I think Marvel got to a point where they just didn't know what to do. Like they tried the Son of M, and that was just a total disaster.
What a pile of crap!
Yeah, that was a terrible story. They tried a couple things here and there, and so they were like, all right, we got to find some way to bring him back. Like you had the 12 Lights, and like the Hope, like Generation Hope. You had all that stuff. And then so Marvel's basically like at the end of Avengers versus X-Men, they're like, well, everybody's getting their powers back, and it's just kind of like, all right.
But kind of like they didn't really give everybody their powers back. Jubilee's
Just
still
everyone
a
that's
vampire.
important.
Yeah, okay, but nobody's cared about Jubilee since
No,
X-Men
they
the
don't.
animated series went off the air.
I feel bad that Jubilee never really like the farthest she got was she got to lead the Gen 13 ripoff team.
Yeah, she did. I mean, but there were like a lot of cool groups though back in the 90s. Like you had like Factor 3. Like there was like a cool villain group. Like you had really cool stuff back then, but now I think it's like Marvel's somehow
like
confined
Maggot.
them. Do what?
I said, yeah, like Maggot.
Like
Yeah, gotta love that guy. I actually do know quite a bit about all that.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, I think that if Marvel had the ability to do it and not piss off every fan, they would separate X-Men into their own universe. I mean, that's pretty much half the titles of the Marvel line right now.
They could.
That's what they're doing with all new X-Men.
Well, I mean, look at it. Like, Original Sin, like nothing happened. You know, like they weren't really involved in that. Infinity, they weren't really involved in that.
No.
They killed off when Professor Xavier died and X-Men versus the Avengers.
Yeah.
They didn't replace him on the Illuminati. They didn't put another mutant there, and they only recently put Beast on it as a swap
Beast
out.
was the replacement.
Well, eventually, but it's only because, and even story-wise, they tried to get rid of him. They were like, "Oh, you shouldn't be here, Beast," and he's like, "Professor X gave me the gem. I stay with them."
That's true. Yeah.
But what's so
and
bad
they
about
picked,
just
and they
like all
picked
the
Beast
mutants
too. Well, they also picked Beast. Like Professor X was concerned about the mutants. Beast is just a smart guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they didn't put a real mutant. The only thing that really makes Beast a mutant, because he's not on any team really at this point. He doesn't do anything with it. He's just smart and he's blue. That's pretty much it.
He used to be an Avenger as well, so that kind of like ties.
You know what? Okay, and I don't understand. All right, here's a problem with the Avengers. Here's a problem with Beast being on
the
Avengers.
problem with the
You know
Avengers.
what
The problem. Marvel explains, got it, guys. He's going to explain the problem.
All right, here is everything wrong. Like this is what is it? This is
The
Comic
BuzzFeed
Sense.
article. Everything wrong with the Avengers.
Yeah, this is Comic Sense, guys. This is the CinemaSins version of comic books. Everything wrong with the Avengers in like 1 minute or less.
Yeah, like a minute. Exactly.
The problem with the Avengers is Marvel turned it into a group where it's basically like a cheerleader. Like it's a group of cheerleaders. That's it. Like when you got Beast and you got Spider-Man on your team, like your team probably sucks because you have you have most like all these other people. I mean, you have all these people with all these other abilities and stuff, and instead you got a guy that can climb walls and shoot webbing out of his hands. You've got a big blue guy who's smart and can lift some stuff. Like, yeah, okay, Benny's 100%.
But
right.
also,
That's
which
exactly-
Avengers? There's like 15 of them.
Yeah, that's the other thing is you have 1,000 Avengers teams.
in
I'm
the-
not getting
in
a
the
phone
X-Men- What?
So I'm not getting a phone call. Let me close that.
I was like, you can like take your phone call on the podcast.
He's like, hold
How's
on
it
a second.
going? You're live on the weekly
Hello,
poll
how are
right
you?
now. How you doing, Liz?
But no, I mean it's like I think that's one of the big problems Marvel ran into with the X-Men. Like I think the X-Men started off as a good idea. The X-Men were like, all right, now we basically like the sky's the limit. Like Stan Lee specifically said that the sky's the limit with the X-Men. We can do anything. With the Avengers, you can only do so much. But I think that Marvel got to the point now where it's just kind of like the X-Men, just in terms of sheer abilities that people can have, like vastly, outrank the Avengers in any capability. So the Avengers kind of pale in comparison.
Yeah.
And so I mean, with the X-Men, you can give anybody any ability of any kind, and it doesn't matter what it is. They were just born with it. With the Avengers, it was all just abilities they somehow gained, like walked into, with the exception of Beast.
Man, there's also the Inhumans too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're just mutants, but not mutants.
I mean, aside from like Black Bolt,
No,
like, I don't care about
they
any
are
of
not
them.
mutants. They are an ancient race made by decree. They get ruled by a
Come
church
on,
in this.
bro.
And
Exactly.
they are-
Yeah, unless you're that one guy who is the mutant Inhuman that can warp reality.
Oh,
No,
Beyonder.
no.
The
And the
Beyonder.
Inhumans are going to be in the TV show because they're gifted individuals. Because we can't use the term mutant. So,
They're special. Was
They're
it
miracles.
Miracles, yeah. God, the
but
Beyonder,
on
man.
a
You wanna
complete
talk about
side note, and
stupid
a
Marvel
funny
character.
thing about that, I just realized this. Marvel can't use the terms mutant because in the 1990s they fought to make the terms mutant like a separate entity
Yep.
from humans.
Yep.
So they won that
They can
lawsuit.
sell
So
toys.
now they can't use mutant.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really ironic.
it all works itself out. But
Shot themselves.
But no, seriously, what's so bad about like everybody with the mutant genome? Just like Professor X gets hijacked by another really smart mind, and then they all get transported to what's a reboot of the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah.
Like it somehow recreates itself, and they all just get there, and they all live happily ever after, and they do their own fucking adventures.
Right.
Because in the Ultimate Universe, mutants aren't the next evolution of humans. They are created in a lab based upon Wolverine's DNA.
yes, and
I have the first volume of that book. I haven't read it yet.
And you probably should.
Oh, dude, it was funny, man, because people were like, oh my God, Fox is talking about bringing in like Cable. It's gonna be so awesome, and people were like, they're gonna use like the Ultimate version. And I was like, do you know what the Ultimate version of Cable is? And they're like, no. It's like it's fucking Wolverine.
Yeah, it's just future Wolverine. No.
They're like,
No,
oh, so
really?
we're gonna see Wolverine again? Yeah,
Yeah, and Wolverine's son, Daken, is not evil in that universe.
yeah.
It's not even Daken. It's some dude. I don't know.
I don't like that.
No, Origins is a really, the one by Bendis is really cool.
Yeah.
But but the rest of it is.
I'm
Oh, God,
ashamed that I
like-
own the
like
first
Frank,
volume.
Like Frank Miller's story, the Wolverine was like really good.
Oh, yeah.
I swear that at the end of Secret Wars, they are going to crush the Ultimate Universe and shut it down.
I hope so.
They're gonna move the popular characters to the mainstream universe. That's why all the X-Men are crossing over, and we conveniently have a mutant that can jump dimensions and take people with her.
Well, that's just a time-honored tradition created by lazy writers. I mean, like, look at House of M. Bendis created Layla Miller to make people forget that, or make people remember what happened before, so that we could just move it along, even though it was 4 issues too long anyway.
And then she joined.
Yeah, they did something with her. I'm like, what?
Yeah, she joined up with Jamie Madrox's X Factor investigation team. And so, like, the entire Civil War conflict, she's in, like, Mutant Town, and people are like, is this the way things are supposed to be? And she's like, I don't know, are they? And it's like, you know what, just kill her. Like, just have, like, Iron Man swoop by and just, like, shoot a laser in her head and just call it a day. Like,
Marvel is so complicated.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it gets
if you okay, here's the problem with Marvel. Here's the problem with Marvel.
Everything wrong with Marvel, by
the problem with Marvel is they try to interconnect way too many books into a core storyline, and they take breaks from said storylines. So you literally have to read about 10 different Marvel books on intervals to understand what the hell's going on in Marvel. Like, I gotta read New Avengers now I gotta read Avengers, now I gotta read Uncanny X-Men, now I gotta jump over to All New X-Men. Oh, and by the way, we're now going to do an event that one of the writers thought would be cool, so we just put all that on hold. We're gonna do Axis now, then we're gonna come back to this.
See, that's why Marvel Knights was so cool. Because Marvel could just say, well, here's like these little self-contained stories, done, and the main stuff just continues on. Like, that's why it was cool.
It's another reason just why I like DC. It's like, hey, here's this universe, here's a few government organizations, here's a few teams. Cool. Oh, and then there's also 52 multiverses.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's everything right with the Justice League. And
Ding!
What they do is they do one event per year that will cross all the books, and it only happens for 1 month. That's their new philosophy. It's always 1 month in September. They cross every book. Yep. Outside of that, if you want to follow your storylines, you can follow like 3 Batman books. You can follow 2 Justice League books. You can follow, like, they have them literally grouped into families, and they don't go out of that family unless it's a special event.
Yeah. That's just, but what I don't like about Batman, though, is that he can have multiple fucking books, and they're all canon. Like, Superman, I think, like, in 2006, had 6. They were all canon. And that's not even if you include all the other, like, super family stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, the problem with the Superman books is they allowed Grant Morrison, I believe it was Grant Morrison, the writer of Action Comics at the beginning.
Yep.
They allowed him to write his own Action Comics, and then they said, okay, you're going to be the prequel to everything else that happens in the Superman universe. And they basically said, and then Grant Morrison said, this is a great idea, but guess what? I'm going to tell nobody my plans.
Yeah, he lets no one in on his plan.
No, that's Grant Morrison for you.
Every other book is like adapting to what issue he put out this week. Oh, crap, he met Lois back then. We need a retcon.
Yeah, we got to just put it up on a board.
Grant Morrison is the thing. Anytime that I'm ever confused when I'm reading a DC comic, I just instantly flip to the cover. Oh, fucking course it's Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
Like, any time I've ever been confused in DC, I just flip to the front. Morrison.
You know what my introduction was to Grant Morrison?
What?
The whole Cassandra Nova story. Do you remember that, Sal?
I do not.
All right. Grant Morrison
is the one who...
Oh, wait, is that... No. I'm thinking of Magneto's wife.
Unless I got my facts wrong, I believe Grant Morrison is the guy who made the whole Weapon X project convoluted, and it's the Weapon X Plus project with like 15
I'm not surprised.
Weapon X's.
Grant Morrison came along and took over the X-Men and initiated this storyline where Cassandra Nova, which it's so stupid, I don't even remember like the basis for Cassandra Nova. Like, I think she's an alien, maybe she's not. I think she's like the dead twin sister of Xavier that kind of like exists in his mind. I don't remember off the top of my head.
That sounds Grant Morrison.
Yeah, it's something weird. But anyway, like Cassandra Nova launches an attack against Genosha using Sentinels and wipes out 16 million mutants.
Yeah, she
like,
killed
that
the
was the
people in
Grant,
Genosha.
Yeah, that was the Grant Morrison. Like, and Genosha never recovered. Like, that led into the House of M. Like, Magneto is still in Genosha. The entire place has been totally obliterated.
Yeah.
But he's still there. Like, the buildings are all torn down. It's like Eastern Europe, you know, and it's just totally...
Well, that was actually a brainchild of, what's his name? Joe Quesada, who was like, there's too many mutants. They even have their own friggin' country. Blow up the country. And then they did, and they were like, nope, that didn't fix anything. It's almost like Quesada was working for William Stryker. Because he's like, all it did was bring them closer together. What else can we do? The next thing he did was, it was like, undo them. So then he pitched it to Bendis, and Bendis did House of M. So like, yeah. It's his call, man. Like, that was not like Morrison being like, oh, it'd be great if we just got rid of all the mutants.
Your Scottish is so much better than mine.
Oh, Morrison's Scottish?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. I just know that he's confusing.
Watch him on I hate to draw anybody away from our podcast, but check out Fat Man on Batman. He talks to Kevin Smith for like a while.
All right.
And they're fascinating. I hate Grant Morrison's like self convolution and the bullshit, but like I love his analysis of Killing Joke. Never thought, and I've reread it. I'm like, oh.
I like Morrison as a writer, but I just don't like how he makes things too comic booky. Where like,
he loves it. Like he thinks that they're like.
I know he loves it and everything. I hate it.
Well, he thinks like
my voice even cracks.
Like he thinks comic books are like caveman paintings that'll like inform new societies, and I'm like, no.
He thinks comic books, every era has their, and I mean, you can see a lot of documentaries on this, that kind of thing, but every era has their superheroes. Like, we have comic books, Superman, Batman, the X-Men, that's our heroes, but every era of life has heroes they look up to and are legends and myths. And Grant Morrison likes to say, I mean, he does mostly with the DC guys is how he handles it, but like, Superman and Batman are the gods. Like, these are the gods that our generation looks up to.
Right.
That's why I like
worship them one day. Like,
yeah.
But I mean, like any of Morrison stuff, like his self-contained stuff, like Joe the Barbarian is a solo graphic novel that he wrote. Really, really good stuff. It's about a kid that has diabetes and he's going in and out of diabetic shock. And the entire book is just him trying to get down the stairs to get a soda. Mm-hmm. But like he's going in and out of these hallucinations where like he's the dying child and he's like the savior of this world and all of his toys come to life and stuff. Really interesting stuff.
Yes.
Really good stuff. All of his Batman and Robin stuff with Dick Grayson and Damian, really good stuff. But then when you let him make things comic booky, that's when I don't like him.
Yeah. Well, that's what I don't like about Multiversity right now. The latest issue of Multiversity, the whole concept of Multiversity is that they are in comics being read by other superheroes in other dimensions.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. That's Morrison.
I mean, it's like Keenan Williams said. He said like Morrison is like the M. Night Shyamalan of comic books.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
oh my God, he is. Holy shit.
That's sad.
Which is like,
he can set up a great story, but his endings never deliver.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Marvel is like, it's taken like all these weird twists and turns. I do think that it was like this big Pandora's box thing when they first did the crossover. Because here's what happened. Like they did Mutant Massacre, and Marvel was like, wow, this is pretty successful. Like, let's kind of keep it up and let's see what happens with it. And so they did like more stuff, and then it was like Age of Apocalypse, and they were like, oh my God, like we've got to start doing more crossovers, and then it started turning into like huge crossover events. I mean, you had all kinds of stuff. Like you had like Fatal Attractions. Like Magneto just like rips the adamantium out of Wolverine's body. I mean, he had like all these different things going on, and Marvel like loved the idea of crossovers, and crossovers were cool. But here's the problem with crossovers.
They were rare.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was like once every 3 years, wasn't it?
Yeah. When it becomes like a constant thing where you always see stuff being crossed over, you lose the importance and the value of the individual teams and the characters.
It's true. It's just like how I feel with variant covers. Like when every issue has like 15 variant covers, they lose what makes them special in the first place.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be done in where it has more impact. And Marvel is just one giant crossover.
Well, Marvel literally ends crossovers by going. They were starting Axis before the original Sin was over.
Yeah, they were.
Mm-hmm. The original Sin wasn't even wrapped up, and they're like, Axis!
No, Marvel is just one giant event, one after another.
Yeah,
like,
Marvel is just an event.
And I don't like that. Like, let me have some breathing room with the characters. Let them do their own story.
And you know, that's one thing I do like about DC. Like, DC ended Forever Evil. We haven't had a big crossover since then. Yes, we did have Futures End that happened in September, but that really wasn't a crossover.
It was kind of at the same time as well.
Huh?
It was kind of at the same time as Forever Evil, too.
No, Futures End happened. Forever Evil ended about Mayish.
Okay.
And then we had normal stories.
Yeah,
and then we had a month break where everyone just did a Forever Evil story, and we're back to their normal stories. No one's crossing over right now. They're implying that there's going to be one coming up, but we have, like, I am reading stories about the Flash. I'm reading stories about Batman. I'm not reading stories about the two of them having to fight the world-ending god of whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't
that's what Green Lantern's for.
maybe this is something like Marvel's picking up on. Maybe Marvel's like all this like people hate all this crossover stuff. Like, I mean, there's a reason why Marvel's coming out with Axis, and like the sales are just like steadily just going.
Well, I mean, like it's funny. I remember them talking about it, like event fatigue, and the guys at Marvel are always like, "There's no such thing as event fatigue. If there was, these books wouldn't be selling like hotcakes." And I'm like, dude.
Because you're giving them only one option.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, if I want to know what's happening in these comics, like, I have to buy them.
Yeah.
Right.
But eventually, they will stop.
That's what's happening. Like comic sales are just slowly. I mean, that's like Marvel. I don't know what it, but comic sales are slowly just starting to slump back down again to a degree. Like it's kind of this phase that goes in and out based on the popularity of the movies. But of course, like the comics that sell are the comics based on the movies. That's why like Thor #1 is a big deal, and Superior Iron Man, and so on and so forth. But it's the stuff in between. There's the things that go on in between these things that just aren't doing all that well. That's why like the Inhumans have just never really been like a huge deal since Volume 2. They kind of were during during Annihilation Conquest, and all that kind of stuff. But after that, it's just kind of like, well, you know, it's whatever. And then, like, of course, all this Inhumans news will start coming out, and you're going to start seeing new Inhuman stories, like all these new things coming out from Marvel. It'll follow that trend. But you got to look between the popularity of the Marvel movies versus the Marvel comics, and you got to look at those comics and see how those comics are doing, and that'll actually tell you how Marvel is really doing. And things are going down, like things are starting to slump. And I'm hoping that with this 2015 event, Marvel's seeing that. Marvel's saying, like, okay, people are getting tired of all these crossovers and stuff. Let's just wrap it all up into one big universe.
That'd be cool.
And say, yeah, here's how it's all going to run. Get back to the roots of having, like, individual characters, individual stories, and so on. Like, Superior Iron Man is a great step in that direction. And then from there, go back to doing crossovers periodically.
Yeah.
I doubt.
Well, granted, Superior Iron Man #1 had a She-Hulk crossover because every Marvel comic has to have some other character showing up for at least a couple of lines.
Oh yeah,
which isn't bad. I mean, like when you're a superhero, all your other friends are superheroes. It just kind of makes sense that like it would. So and I was okay with that. It's like, oh hey, there's She-Hulk. Okay, bye She-Hulk. Like,
right.
There you go.
Bye. Yeah, it's perfect.
I agree with you 100%. And it's funny because Secret Wars is only happening because we've had so many crossovers. We literally have entire universes where these crossovers have happened now.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
and that's why we're having a Secret Wars thing. But you know, I didn't even think about it. But you're 100% right about the fatigue, or I think Sal said the fatigue of these events.
Yeah.
Original Sin, I was buying. It was the one before Original Sin, whichever one that was. I don't remember, but I was buying all the time.
Exactly.
Original Sin, I didn't buy very many of the tie-ins. And Axis, guys, I'm going to say it. I don't give a crap what happens in this.
No.
I'm literally buying the core book because this is basically our job. We have to read these books. I'm not even, like, I'm buying this on a necessity for my job. If this wasn't my job, I would not be buying Axis.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And it's funny, like, because when you look at Marvel characters, like, there were some characters who were really good, and then you're just kind of like, what? Like She-Hulk is a perfect example. She-Hulk #10 just came out, and this is a great way for Marvel to like make She-Hulk interesting again. Before that, like, she was part of.
Except she's canceled.
No, I didn't think they canceled She-Hulk. Did they cancel it after #10?
It's over. Yeah.
What?
I think it's either one or that's it.
No way.
Yeah.
You missed it, Rob.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love She-Hulk's new solo series.
I know, it's great, but it's over.
Is or was?
Which really blows, because like, I mean, like I was never really thrilled with the art, but like the book itself was really tight.
Issue #12.
There you go, 12.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But no, like during Fear itself, she was part of like the Fearsome Four. She was partnered with like Howard the Duck and like Frankenstein, and it was just a stupid thing.
Yeah,
it was
I agree.
dumb. But her character is a great character.
Yeah,
you know, and it's a character that I'd love to see continue in her solo series because it's been pretty good so far. But no, I don't know. I mean, with the whole Marvel thing, it's I'm really hoping that they look at what's going on with the fan base of a lot of their events and their characters, and they kind of make some changes because it's getting kind of silly.
Yeah.
But I don't know what else to say.
I think we've hammered this. I think we've hammered this nail into this coffin quite a bit.
Yeah,
I mean, I think overall the group here. I mean, Drake's kind of not even bothering with the latest event. I think the three of us are pretty much done.
It's just because I haven't gotten to the point yet. I'm still trying to catch up on all the Marvel stuff. So
no, and that's understandable. And it's hard to catch up on Marvel because like DC has a bunch of jumping off points, and Marvel does have the #1s. But if you really want to know what's going on with Marvel, you need to go back like 2 or 3 years and start back there.
Yeah, and I explained this on my channel, but like I'm trying to go from I'm reading from Civil War forward, and then from Miss Marvel back essentially because I really love Miss Marvel and right now she isn't crossing over with anybody.
No.
Which is why I'm loving it. And so,
honestly, man, like if you want to read Captain Marvel, man, like read the backstory on Wikipedia and just go by the Captain Marvel.
No, he means Ms. Marvel, the new.
Yeah,
the new one.
I like Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel's
yeah,
cool.
she's really good. And so like I'm kind of like just going in between. It's like I'm learning about all the Civil War stuff going forward, and then I'm kind of working back from this. That way I'm slowly getting all the information.
Right.
But it's just a long, arduous process.
Yeah.
When I first started reading comics earlier this year, it's like, okay, I want to read DC Comics. But the only reason I read DC so much is because, New 52.
I only have 32 issues to read. Like,
yeah.
Honestly, that's what happened to me. When I was in Afghanistan for my last deployment before getting out of the military, I grabbed a bunch of trades to catch up with my favorite superheroes because I hadn't read them in like 5-6 years, I was like, I want to catch up on all this stuff. And as soon as I got done with a whole bunch of trades, they were like, the New 52, we're going to relaunch DC. I'm like, I guess I'll jump on there and start buying crap.
I mean, that was like, I'll look on Reddit, like on Reddit Marvel, and somebody will post up and they'll be like, where should I start with Marvel Comics? And people will be like, start with Marvel now. And I'm like,
no.
Where you want.
That's not
Marvel
now
just not rebooted.
Yeah,
Marvel now just started that particular story arc. That's pretty much how it did it.
I was like, it's issue number 1, but it's not issue number 1 of like the character's history ever.
No.
Like Magneto issue number 1 is cool for like Magneto solo comic, but if you want to know, here's the deal: if you guys want to know like the whole backstory of Magneto, go read Greg Pak's Magneto Testament. It's like the best 4-part Magneto story I've ever read. Like they consolidated his entire backstory. And so, like, they actually made his name Max Eisenhardt instead of Eric Lyncher, I think. They went through and, like, changed all this stuff. So he has, like, he's of German descent instead of Polish now. But they went through, like, and they tied in both, like real-world historical events in Nazi Germany, and they reconciled, like, everything. Because you had to go back and you had to read, like, Uncanny X-Men number such and such. And you had to read, like, Classic X-Men, which was, like, a reprint of Uncanny X-Men. You had to go back and read, like, all of these different things. Because what Marvel did with Classic X-Men back in the day is they would do, like, the beginnings, or they would reprint like a portion of the Uncanny X-Men story, but then they would add stuff into it.
Yeah.
And so you'd have to like buy Classic X-Men if you really want like the whole story. But they went back through and they revamped and went through all that stuff and then actually put it all in Magneto Testament. So really, if all you want to do is learn about the backstory of Magneto, just go read Magneto Testament. And that'll tell you everything you need to know going into Marvel now. But,
well, are they collecting that in a trade volume right now? Like, because that's the problem, is that Marvel's not really good at collecting past stories. They're really good at making writers tell their stories within a trade collectible volume.
Yeah.
But they're not really good at collecting.
That's what all of them are doing now. All of them are like DC and Marvel are literally every comics 6-issue print. Like there must have been some kind of cheap way to print crap that came out that I was unaware of, because they're collecting every book. You can find any superhero you want in trade now.
Oh yeah. But not
another
the shit they
thing-
did. Just the new stuff. Which is like...
No, the Magneto Testament isn't like an omnibus of like all the stories or anything. Like they went through and like I assume like they read all the stories or whatever, and it's like new art, new storytelling, like all that stuff, and it's basically like a 4-part series telling you from the time that he was a kid up until the time that he escaped a concentration camp. Now, you'd still have to go back and read like a lot of the old, like the Trial of Magneto, the Fatal Attractions, like all those events that Magneto was part of to get like in between. But the good thing now is that you can go back and just read like the major Magneto stories. You don't have to like spend like 10 hours looking on Google trying to find out where his origin story was.
Yeah,
which is good. That's such a pain.
And then going and finding the book and then reading the origin story.
Now that said, Drake, I have to suggest. I don't remember who in the chat reminded me, but like Warren Ellis's Moon Knight is
yes.
Go read Moon Knight. Is it the new one?
Yeah. The new one.
Okay, I have the first trade. Like
okay, that's it. Stop there. Done. Because like
I'm getting to the point.
What else left?
I'm getting to the point with video games. Like I have so many comics that I have a huge backlog that I already own all the shit. Yet I'm buying new things. Like I went into the comic store the other day. It's like I needed to research my channel, and I dropped $200 on trades, and I came back.
Yeah,
which broke the bank pretty hard, but like. I gotta start pretending like I at least know something.
Yeah.
So I can be on this podcast.
Yeah, no, like the Warren Ellis Moon Knight is really good. I don't know if the new people who took over are doing it justice, but I know that at least for like Declan Shalvey and Warren Ellis's Moon Knight is friggin' awesome.
Yeah, and I have it. I'm more than happy to read it.
Totally. That's the only one I can really recommend at this point. Although, if you ever were interested in Spider-Man, the time to jump on was Big Time.
I am not reading
that's
Spider-Man.
That's a huge amount of trades between Big Time and now.
Don't read it now.
No, I am reading Spider-Man 2099.
Nice.
That's a good one.
It is so good.
That's great.
All right. So, guys, little segue action here.
Yeah.
So speaking of big events that are kind of going out of control and the tie-ins aren't really making any sense to it, has anybody else been reading Spider-Verse? What a segue!
Oh my god.
Yes.
I am not going to read a series of comics that feature a pig version of Spider-Man.
Oh no, that's the problem. I don't even know when Spider-Verse has. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sal. It hasn't even technically started, or it just started with one issue.
Well, here's the thing. There's
on
an
the edge
event
for a
called
while.
Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse, the book, like Spider-Verse #1, isn't Spider-Verse.
No.
Spider-Verse is in the main Amazing Spider-Man title. So Spider-Verse technically started in Amazing Spider-Man #9. Although I don't know,
Which just came out finally.
yeah, which just came out, and Amazing Spider-Man #10 comes out tomorrow, I think. But like, when did it start? Did it start with Edge of Spider-Verse or all the other pre-Spider-Verse stories, or is it not like? So yeah, technically.
Well, and the annoying part about Spider-Verse is it kicked off okay with Superior Spider-Man 32. And I think there was like one other one, and that made sense, oh my god, Morloon's a problem, oh my god, we're going to have to make a team of Spider-Man. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then it just stopped going in like, forward. Yeah. And it just started telling random other spider heroes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, because otherwise, how will you know who all of these great new pilot characters are? And I say pilot characters because Edge of Spider-Verse was clearly would you read a noir Spider-Man book? Would you read a Spider-Gwen story? Would you read a Japanese Spider-Man story?
Approved.
By the way, yes, we would read a Spider-Gwen story. And
it's weird because you know what they did was just before this launched, right around the end of Superior Spider-Man, they closed all the Spider books.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. Like, we got no more Scarlet Spider, we got no more Venom. All the Spider books were shut down, and Spider-Man for like 3 months was running solo. And now they're pushing out all of these other books, and they're like, okay, we're only joking. We're not done with Spider-Man, but we need you guys to decide what you want to read.
Yeah. Spider-Man, like, the Edge of Spider-Verse just really doesn't interest me. Because it just seems like overly fucking convoluted and complicated. And there's like shit that I don't really like.
It is.
Yeah. I picked up Amazing Spider-Man 8 because it had Miss Marvel, because I like her character, and I wanted to see how they interacted because she's a freaking fangirl and it's awesome. And then I am reading Spider-Man 2099 because it's hilarious and wonderful. And I was like, okay, I'll read the other thing where Miss Marvel is in, and it gets fucking convoluted with Spider-Verse. And now I'm reading Spider-Man 2099, and they add Spider-Verse shit into it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, fuck, you guys are ruining the books that I am enjoying because you want to tell a goddamn spider story.
And they might die.
Well, it's not even really a spider story. It's just they go to all the and this is where, and this I was talking about Sal before the podcast. The latest issue of Spider-Verse, which is just 6 separate stories about Spider-Man, is bringing us to a whole new level of meta. Because basically before this, we had different versions of Spider-Man. Like, he went to one universe where Spider-Man stayed a giant spider. We went to another universe where Spider-Man was, as this person puts it, and I read that one, steampunk, aristocratic Spider Woman.
There's a version of Spider-Man like that?
Yeah. But and it's in the book I'm reading here, but what you do is, this book right here brought it to a whole new spectrum. And what they're basically implying is every version of Spider-Man you've ever seen or heard of,
except for Tobey Maguire,
is open and up for grabs.
Yes.
And basically, like,
and a bunch of Spider-Man you've never heard of because they never existed.
Or would ever want to.
Here's Manga Spider-Man. He's involved now.
He is a major. I remember they launched a whole bunch of manga Marvel comics. His was pretty cool.
Here is the aristocratic Spider-Verse
steampunk Spider-Woman.
No one cares.
Yep.
But here's where it gets funny, and this is where it really kind of breaks the fourth wall.
Oh, the Hostess Pie.
The Hostess Pie Spider-Man is right here. The guy, okay, in the early, when Spider-Man was last popular, there was a commercial, like an advertisement where Spider-Man's taking Hostess Pies to Mary Jane, right? In this one-page thing, Morloon shows up in the commercial. Spider-Man tries to throw Hostess Pies at him, and Morloon kills him.
Yeah, that was the cleverest thing I've seen in a while.
And then there's the like I was talking about earlier, the comic strip Weekly Spider-Man.
Yeah,
who is literally a comic strip, like
in the newspapers, like
they repeat the same thing over and over. And what's his face? Morloon even states, "What is with this universe? They have no short-term memory. Like, why does he keep asking the same questions?"
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Why does time keeps resetting in this universe? It's like things take days or weeks to perform."
Yeah, because that book, that strip or newspaper strips are incredibly slow, and you have to wait like long stretches of time because you have to dedicate one whole panel to explaining everything that happened in the last panel. It's dumb, but it was a really clever device. There's a lot of neat ideas, a lot of neat, if you will, threads going on in Spider-Verse.
Well, actually, his pun even means more because the concept behind Spider-Verse is that one of the Spider-Man is the Weaver, and every Spider-Man is on a thread of the dimensions, and he can pluck and move people around.
Yep.
Look at Sal's like, I give up.
Well, it is. I mean, like, well, here, okay.
See, this is why I'm not reading this. See, this story is.
Rob, how come every time something's a convoluted story, you're like, this is why I'm not reading
that? I like my simple stories. Like, hey,
I did my Flash storyline. You're like, this is why I'm not reading Flash.
No,
Spider-Man.
I like simple, easy to absorb stories. Like, hey, here's like, okay, Secret Wars, perfect example. All right.
Oh, that's perfect
Wars,
for being normal.
It's perfect for being basic. All right, Secret Wars. Molecule Man gets his powers, just like tears open a hole in the multiverse, and like the Beyonder looks through and says, "Huh, like, well, that's kind of a cool like whole thing over there. So let's just see what happens with like good and evil." So then you got good guys on one ship, bad guys on the other ship. They get put onto the planet. They fight each other. You've got some stuff that happens, and Doctor Doom unleashes Molecule Man's powers, and Spider-Man becomes like Venom, and you've got some stuff that goes on, and then bam, end of the story. It's simple.
Yeah, no, it's not simple.
Simple.
No, it's not simple. It was 12 issues. Beyonder tried to keep it simple. He tried to make it like a children's action figure game where like I put the good guys over here and the bad guys over here, but the good guys and the bad guys immediately start fighting with each other. People start creating factions. They don't act predictably, and then those events wound up not only disrupting their own books, but they wound up bleeding into their books later, and then that spawned that awful Secret Wars 2 series, which bled into even more books. No, it was exactly as complicated as it has been today. So Spider-Man now...
No, it's not.
No, it is. Like, that's exactly what it is.
I think Rob just has the nostalgia glasses on.
Yeah, look, dude, I love that book. I love Secret Wars, but Secret Wars is exactly as complicated as Civil War. Like,
no, it's not.
It wasn't deep. But neither was Civil War. Everyone's like, "Oh, Civil War was about real light." No.
Yes, it was.
No, it was black and white. Out of his mind. It was black and white, clear as crystal garbage. Then Paul Jenkins tries to make it somehow elevated and winds up actually tripping over himself with his high school level education. No, it was stupid. But like, anyway, Secret Wars is in no way less complicated or complex, because it's not complicated. I mean, it's basic stuff, but it's nowhere near as less complex as anything today.
Oh,
it's
yes, it is. Yes, it is, man.
No, because like, look at it. Like, read it again. It's like we've read it. We know. Like, it's not good versus evil. Oh, sorry, Drake.
What?
But like, regardless of all that, like, it is Spider-Verse is overly complicated, and it doesn't allow the reader to make any conclusions for themselves, because when you read everything that spawns this whole thing stems from Straczynski's original take on Spider-Man, which in and of itself was trying to decomplicate Spider-Man. And in fact, Drake, if you ever wanted to pick up Spider-Man, that's actually where I would start, is Straczynski's run. I can't remember what the first volume's called, but like, it's not called Volume 1 because like, for whatever reason,
that'd be too easy.
Yeah. Oh no. But what's great is it does pick up with Volume 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's just that they didn't label volume, like the first run, with Volume 1. I don't know. Of
course they didn't.
Yeah. No. And of course,
that would be way too easy.
Yeah. But
it's like they want new people. It's like they want newcomers to come on board. What?
Yeah. Oh, it's weird. But they won't. Yeah. But Straczynski introduces this idea that Spider-Man may have gotten his powers through another means instead of the radioactive spider. Or rather, that the spider, like, was it really a radioactive spider, or was it that a spider was sent to bite Peter Parker and it happened to get hit by radiation, and that's how Parker rationalized it? But they deliberately put it out there so that, like, in such a way that the reader could go, like, I don't like that idea. And in fact, they do it by having Peter Parker go, like, mystical nonsense is not my bag. But the guy the arbiter of that information says, like, actually it is. And so you have these two forces who are kind of like trying to re-explain Spider-Man's origin, and you have two different versions, and you can pick and choose which one you want.
I like that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, who's right and who's wrong. Somebody says like
it's open to interpretation.
Yeah, somebody says it's open to interpretation. Like some say that the sun rises because it's part of our solar system and blah blah blah, and some say that the sun rises because it's meant to. Are either of them wrong? And it's like that's cool, but then when they pick up these threads, like with the other. Later on, Straczynski will do a spider event, not unlike Spider-Verse, where Morlun shows back up. He's this mystical vampire idiot character, and he comes back to life, and he says unequivocally, "No, it is mystical," and bleh. And it takes away the choice from the reader.
Right.
And Spider-Verse picks up on that and says, and reinforces the idea that there's this mystical web of life, and all the spider characters are tethered to it, and like it removes. He's a kid from Queens with spider powers. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why does it have to be that there's a spider god, and he has to like the spider? The other ended, he like dies and like cocoons himself, and like spiders turn him into another person. Like it's unbelievable.
Oh my
it takes
God,
itself way
man.
too seriously.
Somebody play the curtain call music real quick.
Yeah.
Curtain call music.
Anyway, that's why Spider-Verse sucks. Like, because Spider-Verse is not. It's so out. I said this in a review, but like, it's so outside Spider-Man's wheelhouse that it's like alienating and frustrating.
How about his TV Little House?
Hmm?
How about his TV Little House? Bad joke.
So outside of the main.
Yeah, it's so outside TV Little House. Oh no, it's in there.
I've got a question for you, Sal. You know, just because we're on a nice little chat. What did you think of Spider-Man 2, the movie, starring Tobey Maguire, and particularly the train scene?
Let's just say it's.
I have a video. We never launched it. It was one of the.
We never took it.
No, I never put it up. We did. It was the episode where it was me and Sal just doing the weekly poll. Well, what you guys don't know is when that ended, it was just me and Sal. And actually, Jake, you were on it too, and it was poised. There was literally about 45 minutes of Sal ranting so hardcore about how much he hates Spider-Man 2, to the point of Tiffany telling him to calm down, him storming out of the room, and her taking over on the podcast.
Yeah, I heard it was something to behold. Like,
those Sam Raimi movies are really bad.
All right, but here's the deal. Like, to a degree,
let's get back on topic.
Yeah, we're getting ready to get off topic even more. Like, to a degree, I like your concept of like interpretation, but here's the deal. All right, earlier, like, we were talking about Civil War before we started the podcast. All right, and you were talking about like you don't understand. You know, like you were talking about like Civil War is not that deep of a concept. I disagree, man. Civil War was a deep concept, and here's why. Here's why. All right.
Okay.
With Civil War, it was the debate of who's right. Like, you have Iron Man on the side of security, you have Captain America on the side of freedom. Now, my question is this.
Yeah.
People will argue on the side of Captain America all day long and say, well, he was right to go for freedom. Okay. What use is freedom to a society that uses that freedom to destroy itself? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the value of freedom to a destroyed society? So, like,
They're sided with... Right.
Do what?
Rob?
They're both right.
I'm gonna burst your bubble right here, especially when I tell my entire Civil War story in like 5 to 10 minutes. Civil War is just a reason for the superheroes to fight, and if you don't believe me,
it's true.
Civil War is Secret Wars.
It's Secret Wars. They always look for a reason for the superheroes to have to fight against each other. They do it over and over and over in Marvel. Civil War did not have a deeper meaning. That's all it was, and they tried to imply one, but all it was is a reason for the superheroes to fight, followed by Avengers versus X-Men, where the superheroes fight.
And Planet World War Hulk, where the heroes have to fight.
Yeah, or the entire run of New Avengers after Civil War, where the superheroes fight each other all the time.
Right, or in was it Original Sin, where the superheroes all discover secrets and have to fight each other, leading into now Axis, where the superheroes are now all flipping sides.
Rob's gonna leave.
No, I'm not gonna leave. I'm not. You know what, guys?
Like,
you know what?
you guys.
I'm out of here. You know what?
So all that, we've pissed off Rob, we've pissed off Sal. Drake is playing Fantasy Life secretly.
Oh, okay.
No. All right. Here's the deal.
Like, every time.
Whether or not it was intended to be something deeper, or whether or not it wasn't, but it turned out to be that way. To me, like, Civil War was a really, really good story because it was a parallel to real world events. Like, the ongoing struggle in normal, like, real world society is people say, I want the freedom to do anything that I want to, but I also don't want anybody to have that freedom that they can impose it on me. So that's why people form laws. People don't make, like, society doesn't make laws that say you can't steal because people think it's wrong to steal.
Right.
People say, make laws saying you can't steal so nobody will steal from me. Like, that's why people make laws. That's
well, also because like it'll disrupt society. Like you can't like there you can most laws, in fact all laws are put in place so that like the fabric of society doesn't unravel. Like you can't steal because it will destroy our economy. Like you can't kill because people would murder each other and it would like fuck up our road system because like there'd be all these cars full of corpses like in traffic.
The problem right here, Rob, with Civil War, honestly what it comes down to is
Bing.
The problem with Civil War and the problem with pretty much all of the Marvel events is perception. What it's going to come down to is someone who's a super fan and really wants to look into all and read every single time for Civil War and wants to look for a deeper meaning is going to go, Civil War has a deeper meaning. It's all about privacy and it's all about rights and it's all about that kind of a thing. Yeah. And someone who's just looking at the cover art is going to go, it's about superheroes fighting. That's what it's about. Yeah. But it doesn't even just apply to Civil War. It applies to everything. Yeah. It depends on how much you want to take what they're giving you. Okay, I can look at the stories of Superman fighting against Darkseid and singing Darkseid to death as a whole new take on gods and mythology that Grant Morrison's going. Or you can look at it as Superman just saying Darkseid to death. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I mean,
it applies to movies, it applies to everything. I mean, some people look at The Matrix as this could legitimately be, like, are we all trapped in our own brains in a virtual reality world? And people like me look at it and goes, that was a kick-ass action movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Sucks.
Well, no, but I mean, okay. If all you did was read, like, the standalone Civil War stories, yes, that's the attitude that you would take. You would say it was Marvel writing a story about heroes fighting heroes. If you read Civil War Frontline,
oh yeah, I have all of them.
Yeah, and you focus on like Ben Urich and Sally Floyd, like there's a much bigger concept going on there.
Yes, but they had to invent that concept. Like that was Paul Jenkinson's idea. That wasn't part of the story. Like that was, and it's also a tie-in.
Yeah, and for the record, Civil War itself doesn't even fit its own continuity because no one was on the same page. There's holes in Civil War if you read it all.
Oh yeah, there are holes in Civil War, but in
the end of the day, Rob, in the end of the day, it's a comic book. In Civil War, even if you want to look, even hold on. I know I interrupt all the time, but let me get this one out. It's just a comic book, and the fact of the matter is, regardless of what you want to think it says and what's going on, it's literally about Iron Man versus Captain America. Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
I agree, man. Like I made 22 videos explaining Civil War. I understand the concept of Civil War. I know what it's about, and I get. I mean, at the end of the day, like we separate ourselves and we read comic books. We make videos about them for a living. That's what we do. But the fact remains that at the end of the day, like I like to look for like really cool concepts in stories. Like it's just kind of a personal thing. It's one of the things that I like to look at. Like for me,
I do the same thing. I love it too. I love doing that.
My God, man, are you gonna let me talk?
No.
No. Greg's like,
I don't know what's going. Keep going.
Why are mommy and daddy fighting?
No, you probably should cut me off because I will keep going. Like I will keep going. But no,
I was agreeing. I'm like, yes, you're right. There is deeper meanings, and a lot of stories do. And Grant Morrison is like the pinnacle of every story I write will have a deeper meaning. Yeah.
And now it just came full circle.
That's what I mean.
We're back to Grant Morrison.
You're right, but the problem is, even if there is a super deep meaning, this is not the medium to get that point across. Yeah. Your demographic is people who just wants to see people fight. And while there are fans like us who read every single book and and I want Axis to have a purpose, and I want it to tie into things. And I want to know why is Reed Richards being a dickhead? And why is the Justice League cutting off a guy's arm? And at what point do we accept Superman as an alien? And how can Batman be the smartest guy in the entire universe? And why is Tony Stark so intelligent that he can invent a machine that will destroy a world, but he can't put two and two together that maybe this man should not drink? Yeah. Like, there are so many deeper meanings that I want to know about in the comic books. But at the end of the day, we won't get the ones we want because they're comics.
Right.
Well...
because they're run by other people who have their own thing. Like, their agendas and editorial control, unfortunately, really influences story.
I understand that, and I get that Marvel is a business. Marvel makes comics to sell money.
Hey,
if Marvel
interrupted because my superhero alter ego is the Interrupter.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I have become the Interrupter. It only happens for about an hour and a half once every week, but I've become the Interrupter. No, I get that if Marvel could sit down and Marvel said, "Hey guys, there's all these political themes, like all this hot stuff going on in like the real world, like let's make a story that kind of reflects that." And let's see if it sells, and then it just blows up. I get that's a marketing decision. Marvel made Civil War because a lot of people bought it. It was probably the best-selling comic book series, and since like the year 2000, maybe even a little bit before then. And so it was a huge deal when it came out. And so I get that it was all business.
Civil War pulled Marvel out of irrelevancy.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Civil War saved Marvel.
Yeah.
Like, no, unequivocally, I have no doubt about that. It's just, I don't think it's the second coming.
And I agree with you. And what Marvel learned from Civil War was not how to tell a story about civil rights and privacy and all this the future age and learning all that crap. What they learned is that if they stay super topical on something, it will sell books. BuzzFeed learned the same thing, and now they're a multi-billion-dollar top 10 list organization.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any closing remarks? Because we are running out our hour and a half time.
We are.
So I'm gonna close because we could probably do this argument all day. We could do this dance all day because every story has a deeper meaning to the people who read it. That's where I want to leave this. Is regardless of it being a comic book or not, the story of Kara Zor-El coming down and becoming Red Lantern is all about teen angst and how teens can go fight against it, or it could just be a reason for her to punch the wall.
Red Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know, and everybody can take a comic book for face value or look for a deeper meaning that doesn't exist, and then decide that that's there. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know.
Exist.
Well, and just to one step further, why is the door blue in this comic or in this book? Like, is it because the writer of the novel wanted to show the character's inner depression, or is the door just fucking blue? It's up to interpretation. Everything is up to interpretation.
I like how you guys are like, instead of being like Rob, I think it's cool that you're a lover of philosophy and you like getting into these concepts. Instead, you guys are like, well, if you're like Rob and you're looking for shit that's not there.
No, I'm not saying
you're trying to
understand
why the door is blue when in reality the door was just made blue because the artist just decided to use that color.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's just everything in the world is just open to interpretation because everybody is a unique individual that has a different life. They see different things and they take different meanings out of anything. Some people think that that their life is all fate, and some people believe that it's just God's plan or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's everything in the world is what you make of it.
Yeah,
right. And that's a great point, Rob. And I'll end it with that. You might see the different meaning of Civil War. No, hold on. And it may be there.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I see superheroes punching each other. But in the exact same flipped reversal, I can read deeper into my DC books than you can, and you just see Superman fucking is God.
And like singing to Darkseid.
That's what I mean. So we can both play the exact same game for the stories that we love. And on that point, guys, let us know in the comments down below if there's any stories that you feel there's deeper meanings to, so that Sal can pick them apart, because Sal is the guy that's going to do that.
Sal will be the guy
I love comics, and I apologize for anyone that I offend with my very verbose opinion. It's not a.
It's okay, Sal. I love you.
Thank you.
Maybe we should have a second podcast every week, which is just 30 minutes of us looking for the deeper meaning in a story.
Guys, check this out. So the Beyonder is like, he kind of like represents like the amalgamation of like
he's all religion,
people's non-understanding of the world and like good and evil and stuff, and so like he just does dumb stuff. And he looks like John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever. Did you watch that video that I sent you?
Yeah, that was weird.
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was awesome.
Let's close it out, and then we can yammer about the video you sent over, okay? So, guys, thank you as usual for joining us in the weekly poll. As usual, we'll be here every week. We're now moving the time to Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. That is the planned permanent time for the show. We'll be here every week. I do want to state real quick, we are launching. It is not launched, so if you go look at it right now, it is literally just a stand-alone thing. But we are launching www.theweeklypoll.net. Or .ninja, whichever you want to go to. The purpose of this website will be a resource for you to get your comic book news, a funnel like aggregation points, so you can see all of the YouTube Avengers and all of our videos and how we come together. You can get the podcast there weekly. Right now, it's just funneling our videos, but as of January 1st, it will launch officially with forums and a community and a great place for you guys to go. And if this is something you guys might be interested in being a part of, being a writer for it or maybe a forum moderator, send your emails to myself, comicstorian@gmail.com, and I'll forward them to the appropriate people because right now I cannot remember either one of their emails off the top of my head.
Mine's Rob at marvelexplained.com.
Okay.
And I'm Sal at tvlittlehouse.com.
I've got nothing to do with this.com.
So it's Rob at marvelexplained.com, Sal at tvlittlehouse.com. Send it to all three of us if you can, but if you send it to one of us, we will make sure it gets to the right person. Yeah. This is a giant project we are all working towards, and I mean, we're excited about it, and we hope you guys get excited about it too. Now, on our usual closing remarks, Rob, what is going on Marvel Explained for the week?
Oh, God. More Road to Age of Apocalypse stuff. God, people don't understand how massive this is going to be. A lot of people don't get it. Like, why are you explaining Excalibur? Like, are you serious? Like, come on. Like, this is all going to go towards Age of Apocalypse. So, New Mutants will be out tomorrow. And after that, I'll work on whichever one I had lined up after. I think it's Generation X. So, basically, I'm going to explain Jubilee leading a group that nobody cares
Yay!
about. So but, yeah, that's just a series of videos coming up for the Road to Age of Apocalypse. Pretty much it.
Awesome.
All right, Sal, and what's going on every day of TV Little House? Because every time I look at your channel, there's something new.
It's true. Probably in the next couple of hours, I'll launch our review of the new Batman number 36 on Off the Rack. We're having the new back issues comes out on Thursdays, wherein we discuss the James Cameron Spider-Man script. Mm-hmm. And I think next week for back issues, we're going to do Fear Itself.
Oh, God. Great story.
Yeah. I like to call it the forgotten Marvel event because nobody
remembers that.
But it's got Stuart Immonen on art, so it's really good.
People are like House of M, and they're like Civil War, and they're like
they just
Dark
skip
Reign
like,
and Siege. And
yeah, Secret Invasion and Siege, and then whatever.
Yeah.
And then whatever happened there.
Yeah, just this huge like 1 year long gap.
Yeah.
Exactly. What people don't know is Marvel actually shut down for that year and decided to test the waters of no comics.
Somebody just snuck in and released Fear Itself.
So, Drake, what's going on over at Comic Drake for the week? What do you got planned?
Well, nothing is really happening as of right now because I'm getting some new lighting in the mail tomorrow. I got some awesome stuff. But the Comic Drake channel has officially launched, and I am producing regular videos. I tried out a new show this past week, which is First Issue Impressions, where I talked about Superior Iron Man, Captain Falcon, Mighty Avengers, and Lady Thor. But I finally got the set in order, and it is this really swanky throne with the comics all there. So hopefully with the lighting, it won't look like absolute shit on camera. But new videos soon.
I'm in a cave.
I can see that. Well, Benny, what's coming on Comic Story?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Drake, for asking me. You know. This week I'm trying my best, and I picked a really bad week to try and do it because now that I'm finally feeling better, family's out of the town. Like 5 video games come out, and I'm like, this is the week I'm gonna get back on schedule and do things properly. And by the way, I got 5 video games to play. But no, I just put out the next part of the Flash storyline, which is actually issues 6 through 17 of the new 52 launch. And it's like 3 storylines that interwrap over and over. They tumble up on themselves and come to an end. I'm coming out with the most important Green Lanterns video this week. Nice. I'm coming out with a video that explains all the Reverse Flashes, all the versions of him. And this is the one versus why I brought up the incursions today. Later this week, I'm aiming for Thursday, is going to be the New Avengers 1 through 24 book.
Nice.
Which is all the beginnings of the incursions and the start of this whole thing. And it'll be the first video that I make, which is pretty much going to be left on a super cliffhanger, Marvel Explained style, because I can't end it, because it's still technically going.
Hold on, wait a minute. Left on a super cliffhanger.
Well, no, because you do the individual issues, so you have the normal issue cliffhangers. I normally wrap the stories up. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm saying, so normally my stories are complete, but this is going to be like, the complete story, question mark, you know.
Could there be consequences, Benny? I don't know. Could there? Could there, Benny? Could there be consequences?
I one stupid cliffhanger joke, and you're like, I even put Reverse Flash in the image.
I thought that was hilarious. I was like, could there, Benny? Could there?
Could there?
But anyway.
But no.
You want to give our any kind of closing remarks, Rob?
I think we're good for the most part. This is
technically your show.
I mean, I think we're good for the most part, guys. Yeah, again, if you guys are interested, send us emails. There's no real standard on like what your writing history is. I mean, just keep in mind, guys, just because you send us an email with a writing prompt doesn't mean that we're going to post it on the website. We're going through, we're looking at them, we're analyzing them to make sure that they have the content that we're looking for, that they're up to par. but don't say, well, because you haven't really written anything for, any articles or anything, that you shouldn't do it. Like, send us something. The worst we can do is just say that worst we can do is correct it, send it back to you. Worst we can do is say, write about this instead. I mean, it's the worst we can do is say no. I mean, it's we're not.
I mean, Sal, what are you really looking for in the write-ups? Because honestly, guys, you send him into us. Sal's the guy because he's pretty much an English teacher. I think he is. Maybe not. I don't know. Kind of. No, but he's kind of doing the actual screening of the articles.
Behind you. There's a cat sitting on the back of your chair right now.
Yeah, he's very friendly. As far as writing goes, the things we're looking for, I don't want full articles just yet because we won't be able to launch for a while. But what I'm taking right now, I'd like to see maybe a link to something you've written before just to get an idea of what your prose is like. And the things I'm really accepting are some pitches. I'd like 3 kind of like, I hate to use the term, but like BuzzFeedy kind of pitches, like something that like would last, would like has staying power, and then 1 topical pitch that you have that might either come out in the next month or 2.
All right, give them an example. Like what kind of?
I would not want to use like 26 reasons why why being an Avenger it sucks, or why a mystical Spider-Man is a better Spider-Man. Just different kind of articles that are about comics in general or specifically, but like enough to reach audiences. We're really kind of trying it all and seeing what kind of fits the best for us. So, but I'd like for it to be more news-oriented as well. So hopefully that'll come. But like, I would hate to have like a bunch of articles about how Thor 2 is really cool and then have the Lost Site launch like in 3 months and be like, that was topical, I guess. Like, I don't want to waste people's time.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Good enough.
And Drake, how's fantasy life? No,
really good. I am a blacksmith, carpenter, tailor, mercenary, paladin, cook, and a few other classes at the same time.
So on a 10-second review, would you say Fantasy Life is a great game for anyone with ADD?
Yes, it's Animal Crossing, but with RPG elements.
There you go. Okay, so anyway, all right, guys, thank you as usual. This is the end of the show. 1 hour, 30 minutes in. Make sure you check back here next Tuesday, same time. We'll all be here, hopefully. And next week we're going to do a 10-person podcast. We're going to find 6 more people.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Anyway, we will catch you guys later.
All right, bye.
Have a good one, guys.